80 to 90% of this is an inside job, not like did you take the right tinctures and eat enough dates and do enough squats and walk enough miles and practice your positions and your coping techniques. Like, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I think the rubber really meets the road with the internal process.
Holy Wild Birth is a podcast embracing the reclamation of giving birth, rooted in God's original design, undisturbed.
Here, we share homebirth stories highlighting God's presence as the great midwife, as well as conversations about all aspects of a holistic, spirit-led childbearing year. From the perspectives of myself, traditional midwife Lauren Hall of Rooted in Eden Private Contract Association,
and me, holistic doula and birthkeeper Brooke Collier of Sister Birth.
To choose a holy wild birth journey is to consecrate all your decisions unto the Lord.
And to reclaim creation unadulterated by centuries of human attempts to control and improve upon what God has already called good.
Please remember, birth is not a medical event, but a natural process. We are not your care providers, and this should not be taken as medical advice.
Hey, sisters. Welcome to another episode of Holy Wild Birth. This one is going to be all about preparing for labor. And if you know me and Lauren, you know it's going to be a very holistically oriented conversation. We're going to talk about preparing for labor from mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical standpoint. It's a little bit of a rambly conversation, but it's full of a lot of gold nuggets. So it might be helpful to take notes. And then if you're inclined to go deeper on any of these things, make sure to check the show notes because we've dropped a lot of links there to resources that will help you go deeper into some of the things we talked about. Some of them we mentioned explicitly in the episode and some we did not. So you'll find lots of goodies there. And before we start listening, let me just say a little prayer over this episode. Father, we thank you so much for the rich time of preparation you've given us, the space and time and invitations you've given us in pregnancy leading up to our labors and births. Thank you that you made us such complex, whole people with so many parts, and that all of those parts get to be changed and transformed by you as we prepare to bring our babies into the world. And so for any mamas listening today who are standing on the threshold of their own labor and birth, I just pray that you would take a highlighter to any of the ideas that we've mentioned in this episode that you want them specifically to pay attention to and implement. And that you would also just, by your Holy Spirit, speak into their ear those unique to them things that you are wanting to give them in their personal labor preparation journeys and processes. You're a good shepherd. You shepherd us so well through all things, including preparing for our births. And we want to just say yes to you and the intentions and purposes you have for us in that process. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Welcome to Holy Wild Birth. So this episode, we are going to talk about the big question: how do you prepare for labor? I feel like every pregnant mama has this question. It is the one, the main one. And we haven't actually talked about that on this podcast. We've been laying a lot of foundational topics. And this is a big one. So we didn't want to overskirt that. And this is where Brooke is currently in her life. So in real time, you have been preparing for this upcoming birth. And I know that's been a really fun journey for you. Maybe fun's not the best word. It's been an adventure for you is kind of what I was getting at there. Lots of twists and turns. But just even in general, how have you been preparing for this birth now that it's right around the corner?
I mean, I'm kind of like always asking myself every question from like mind, body, spirit,
Yeah.
heart, right? Like this holisticness to every part of the birth process. So the same for me when it comes to labor prep. And that's what I teach my students too, is like, it's not only a physical preparation of like understanding the mechanics of birth and what positions alleviate pain and practicing holding ice cubes while counting to 60 or whatever. Like these like kind of like empty breathing exercises and coping techniques, like all of that is important. But I feel always concerned when like that's where we end, because it's just not enough, right?
Right.
So in fact, the more I have babies myself and the more I walk with other women through their births, the more I don't know if you probably agree with me, but like that feels less and less important.
Yeah.
I'm prone to saying like probably 80 to 90% of this is an inside job, not like a
Yes.
did you take the right tinctures and eat enough dates and do enough squats and walk enough miles and
Right.
practice your
Right.
positions and your coping techniques. Like, I'm
Right.
not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I think the rubber really meets the road with the internal process of
Yes.
preparation. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I feel like, honestly, physically, I haven't done a lot of prep this time, and I'm sure that's partly because it is my sixth baby, and I feel like I kind of get how to roll with the dance of labor at this point. It's not a completely new concept to me anymore. It's almost like riding a bike. There's like kind of a certain degree of muscle memory to it.
Yes, for sure. There's a
So,
there's a
but
little
maybe
bit of
we
a
should maybe
level.
talk about that for those who aren't on their sixth baby. um, but for me personally, right now, it's been more um, kind of getting my house in order, I guess, like internally, and trying to tend to um, like the fact that with this pregnancy, I haven't felt as connected to the baby, and just so trying to bridge that gap a little bit and choosing to practice speaking life and love over him. Um, and I had sat down the other day and just kind of journaled out fears. Like I was like, okay, are there any things like hiding in the corners of my brain that are kind of like I'm a little nervous or worried about them? Can I name them, write them down, speak them out loud, and then hand them over to Jesus and write some affirmation doesn't feel like quite the right word, but some truths to kind of counteract each
Right.
of those individually, which is actually, it's a fears release handout that I have inside of Embrace. I could probably put it in the show notes. So I
Yeah.
went through that process myself, like the one that I tell my students to do. It was really helpful. Because it's not like I walk around feeling petrified of birth and labor. I don't. But when I'm
Yeah.
really quiet and honest with myself, there's usually at least a few things hiding in the dark corners that need to be brought out and kind of dealt with, you know?
Absolutely.
They're different every time. Every
Yeah.
time they're different.
Right. So
Yeah.
I would love to know what that, like, whether you have a specific exercise you bring. I have something similar. I have like a clearing the cobwebs thing, or just like what lies are coming up for you and what fears are coming up, and like what truth can you speak to those. But like, I think it was what birthing from within that really talks about like looking at those fears, um, and just kind of like airing them, getting them into the light instead
Yes.
of oh, I'm scared of a C-section, so I'm just not going to talk about the C-section. I'm not going to talk about the C-section. I'm not going to talk about that possibility. And then you almost end up in this, like, I don't know if self-fulfilling prophecy is the right word, but like you just kind of create that fear because you haven't looked at it, and it let
Yep.
Jesus's love really cast that out. And so I don't know, there's a great quote that I will probably butcher, but it's just talking about from that same book, Birthing from Within. It's talking about the soul searching and listening more deeply to the woman that she was working with. She began to really understand it was how we prepare is in our heart and soul, not our head, and that giving birth is something we do um, in our body, not in our head, right? Like you can't analyze it, you can't
Mm-hmm.
and so there's such value in like knowing the information and knowing how the physiology is. And I think some of that is really necessary for some unlearning in,
Yep.
that we have to do because of culture, especially in that first, for our primates, our first time mamas,
Absolutely.
there's that like, okay, let's inform, but
Mm-hmm.
also, then you have to, once you have a baseline of this is the physiological process, I teach it from a sense of like, I'm teaching you this, not because you need to know anatomy and physiology and become like a scientist in order to birth. You don't have to become a midwife. That's not what the process is. This is just so you can see the design works.
Yeah.
Like he's come up with all of these fail safes. He's like, it works for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
down to like, I think one of my favorite ones is like the baby doing the breast crawl actually like, and, then latching on actually stimulates that fundal massage, right? Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's preventing, making sure mom's uterus is contracting, and then they can latch on all by themselves, and also helps mom. And like, it's like we're helping baby and baby helps us. And like, that's part of our instinctual design. Like, and there's so many of those. It's
Yeah.
like, it's fun to see them, not from a, like, you have to know these things, but like,
Right. It's like
it
you don't have to
grows the
memorize the terms
confidence.
and the steps, but like,
Right. It grows
yes,
our
confidence.
confidence that he designed
Yes.
it to work. And so we
And
can
honestly leads
just
me to
honor
worship
it.
when I really look at it too. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, is brilliant. You are brilliant.
Brilliant. Right.
Yeah, it boosts
So
confidence and trust
there,
so much to have that basic understanding of the physiology and the
yeah,
and the hormonal stuff too. I really find that
right.
that's like really fun to know about for the same reason.
1,000%. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. The hormonal, the just all of that. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
knowing it is great. And like, so that's kind of the head knowledge stuff. But like, I definitely found that once I had that, really built the trust in this works and unlearned the fear mongering
Mm-hmm.
around birth that our culture has put in, and kind of the misunderstandings of like, oh, look, her water broke, she's going to have a baby, rush her from the hospital, to the hospital, movie scene of
Yep.
the water broke, so we must be having a baby right now. And I mean, some women, sure, some women not so much, but you're not likely to just push out a baby 2 minutes from their first contraction to your next, right? Like we see in these movies. So understanding the basics, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get past that, or you've been through your first labor, you kind of have an idea of what to expect. Then it really is all soul work,
Yeah.
all that soul searching, that heart work, where are these obstacles? Where are the fears coming up? And so anyway, I rambled
Mm-hmm.
on a lot. I was asking you, do you kind of mentioned like that's what you do with your students. Is there any like practical nugget you would give to our listeners of how to just do that on their own? Like, is it just what fears are coming up for you, or do you have like a specific advice around that?
Yeah. Well, I have a sheet that I use
Mm-hmm.
that has like 7 steps or something. And that's the one that I was using the other day.
Awesome.
It sounds like it's relatively similar to what you've made too, which I'm finding a lot. Lauren and I actually haven't, you guys have not seen each other's materials, very many of them. But on the
Yeah.
occasion that I get like a glimpse of her materials, I'm like, oh, that's so much like mine. And it's completely like because we're being led by the same Holy Spirit, not because we're like
Yeah, for
judging
sure.
each other. But
So
yeah,
funny.
so it's just getting still and quiet and listening for whatever comes up and taking as long as you need to do that, and then writing them down so you're naming them and then allowing yourself to even sit with the feeling of the impact of each of those.
Yeah.
And so like it's not just to be like, I'm kind of scared of that, brush it under your rug, but like, can you actually be present to that fear for a minute
Right.
and feel it in your body and let it move through you before you start moving in with counteracting it
Right.
with the truth and the affirmations.
Yeah.
So I find it really valuable. And a lot of the women I serve have said they need to do it more than once too. Like
Yeah, for
they might have
sure.
one like round of some fears at the beginning of third trimester, and then a few weeks before their EDD, there's another round, and they have to go back and
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah.
So it
I
tells you really nicely.
actually find that most women, as I talk about it, it was moving into the autumn of pregnancy, which is that like 28, 32, somewhere in there. And every woman kind of hits it differently, but like there's fears that come up. There's this like this darkness as you're going deeper, right? When we go to the deep, it's dark, right? And that's not always a bad thing. Like the deep is actually designed to be dark. The deep depths of the sea are dark. And we're going deep in birth. And so as you prepare and in the autumn, like it starts getting darker and there's the color change and the days change. And that is this like presentness that you can have in that space and recognize that the things that aren't serving you anymore are going to come up and they're going to fall off. There's going to be a time of shedding, just like the leaves of the trees shed off. And so I prepare them in that time of like 28, 32 weeks. It might not happen, but for the most part, something kind of comes up. And so like, let's make sure we have a good, like soul searching, appointment, or if you have a life coach, or if you have a counselor, or especially if you have like a lot of trauma in your life, like make sure you schedule something, in that time of both, support and also like time off around a lot of big, really heavier responsibilities so that you have the space
that's good
to prepare for birth in that time, because things do come up.
I sure felt that this time. As you know, I actually talked to you. I was like, this stuff is coming up. It was definitely like a wave of more intense feelings and kind of darker thoughts and fears and doubt. And now it's interesting because I was just on a call with the Embrace Birth Journey gals the other day, and one of them was sharing all this stuff, and I was realizing she was in that same window. I was like, oh, interesting. So, which I got then to kind of point that out to her, that it's really natural for those things to come up at about this time, and just to give her a lot of permission to feel the things and air out the things. And so it is an interesting phenomenon.
Right. Well, I feel like if it's coming up for almost every woman, it must be part of the design, right? Like, and that's why I like link it to the autumn. There is this time of like shedding those things off. What is dead. These like, they're not serving you, these thoughts, these fears, but that doesn't mean that we can't find beauty. Like God doesn't waste anything, right? Like all of those dead things turn to beautiful colors on the trees, right? And then they fall off. And so it's like, okay, what beauty can we garner by recognizing this stuff is dying, these dead things in our life, these fears, this ugliness, like, okay, God, where is the beauty? Where are you? Where's your glory in this? And allow him to prune and allow him to speak truth, and settle our hearts. And then that's when you see those beautiful colors and you see it just shed and fall off. And so that's why I call it the autumn. Well, for among other reasons, but I
love that analogy. And honestly, I feel like if we don't give space for that kind of work, it tends to come out sideways in our labors, which honestly motivates me to deal with it while I'm pregnant, because I mean, nobody wants a long labor that's feeling hard and distressing, but that can happen if we have swept things under the rug so consistently and persistently during our pregnancies that they kind of show up in like almost like a physiological resistance, it seems like.
Well, you're holding it in our body. If we're not releasing it and we're not letting it go, we're not talking about it and getting it out, then we're just like hiding it and we're just layering it under. And our body, like the body keeps the score, right? Like that is what it's doing. And so it's going because you start birthing in your body and those obstacles haven't been cleared out. And you're holding everything in, you're closed up. And this is the process of opening. So you have to clear the way.
Which is why sometimes in labor, you'll see a labor that's not going real well turn on a dime and suddenly fly with smoothness and ease after the woman has some sort of acknowledgement of an emotional roadblock or relational roadblock, and she deals with it during labor, which isn't ideal, but sometimes it just is what it is. And then it's like, oh, this is a completely different labor now. The trajectory just shifted.
It just shifts it. Yep. A good cry or recognition that she's afraid to be a mom, or her own relationship with her mom traumas, some of the sexual traumas in your life, just all of those big ones. If they're not looked at, they can really, really come up and cause prolonged labors or,
even mild complications,
complications. Yeah. So.
Which again, this is kind of off point, but I just feel like God gives us pregnancy as it's a gift to us. It's not meant to be like this burden to endure so we can just get the baby at the end, but it's like He gives us this really special space that's really facilitates facing some of these things in a unique way that we don't really get when they're not pregnant. It really is a gift for clearing out stuff that's not serving us and letting Him speak truth into those places. If we'll let it be. I mean, He's not going to demand it, but it's a rich invitation.
Yes, for sure.
So anyway, other ways of preparing for labor. At this point, I'm doing the listening to scripture and birth affirmation tracks almost every night.
Yeah.
I really do find that. So when I was in college, I was on the honors roll. And do you know how I studied? I would read all of my notes from all of my classes before an exam into a cassette player, because that's how old I am. I would record them into a cassette player. And then I would play it. I'd start it playing when I went to bed on loop. So just play while I was sleeping.
Oh, I love that.
That's literally how I studied. I was just a subliminal, just putting it into
subliminal study
while I was resting.
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason I really love, I have the, I know not everyone feels comfortable with this, but the Christian Hypnobirthing app. I wish it wasn't named that because I don't really feel like it's hypnotic. It's just literally tracks of scripture and truth.
Right.
It really ministers to me. So I have that one. Then I have Made for This Birth, the Catholic one. So I've been just playing those as I fall asleep at night sometimes. And even if I'm not consciously tuning in, just knowing that truth is just kind of seeping into my being, into my mind and my heart. And
Natural Christian Mama's podcast also has one too.
Oh, it does? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a short one. I think it's 16 minutes or so, but
nice. We'll have to put all those in the show notes for people.
Yeah.
I also wrote my own affirmations this time that were kind of directly addressing things that I have worries or concerns about for this particular pregnancy and birth. So I'll also read those out loud to myself.
Love it.
Often. So there's just it's the programming of the mind. That's such a biblical concept, really.
Renewing of the mind,
and I think
truth there. Yeah.
Wallpaper our minds with truth. And by doing that, we a happy side effect of it is that we're kind of keeping out untruth and falsehoods. We don't have to necessarily go through and try to nitpick and find every lie, but just by focusing on the truth, it proactively keeps away.
It's that think upon these things, right?
Yeah. Whatever is pure and lovely and good and noble, think about these things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love that. I also think on the same or similar vein, kind of protecting yourself from the negative stories and the social media uproar and the, just the noise of life. And especially the closer and closer you get. And I know that that's especially a really difficult dance for birth workers, as you're really amongst all the stories, because, not every story has the well-laid plan outcome that we would like. And that's just the truth of life, right? The storms are going to come. And that's why it's not about an outcome as the goal. It is about, did you go the way the Lord led you, right? Like, were you surrounded by his presence and submitted to his will, and opening yourself up to the transformation that you were birthing, not just the baby you were birthing, right?
Yes.
So it's not, it's more than just a healthy mom and healthy baby that we're concerned about, but there's also like this surrender of like that transformation that you're birthing may come differently than you were expecting it or wanting it to come. And so while we recognize that, it's also wise to keep before you, like we reproduce what we look at, right? And so it's the protecting yourself from, your great Aunt Sally's cousin's, best friend once had a home birth and they all died, they all died.
Family.
The cat died even, like whatever, like let's not listen to all of those things. And really put before you and cultivate just a good support system. And in those people, I think that that's a huge part of birth, is what stories are you listening to? I guess would be summing that up. Like, are you surrounding yourself with good story and supportive people?
Because that literally changes your hormonal kind of like cocktail too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I mean, a case in point would be those of us who had babies in 2020.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Like it was, I mean, everyone, like collectively as a culture, we were swimming in a swamp of fear and anxiety and what ifs and, death and illness. And then it got layered with like kind of race riots and all of the like, just the sadness and heaviness of that combined with the pressure to like show up and do something about it. And then we layered in like a little bit later, like the political stuff as we led up to the election. It was just like, I remember I turned off social media and the news for myself probably like 6 weeks before my due date that year, because I knew that if I kept letting that in, what it was going to produce in my body was going to be adrenaline and cortisol, which are the enemies of the hormones that I want that in order to have a baby.
Yeah.
They can't really coexist. So, which is the same reason that we say don't let in all the negative stories at the end. And yeah. Because it's physiologically and hormonally shifting things.
Right.
And the midwife I was seeing for a couple of prenatals during that pregnancy said that she noticed a lot of her clients were holding in their babies longer than usual that year. And I think her going theory was exactly that. Like the hormonal chemistry was getting disrupted significantly by the events of that year. The isolation too, right? And the
isolation, right? Everything. Yeah. I mean, that year was a doozy. Like, shout out to all the 2020 birthing mamas and those babies. My goodness, it was a hard year to be pregnant. It was
really
such a hard year to be pregnant.
Yep. And I did hold that baby in a long time. In spite
I did
of
not.
efforts. You did not. No,
I did not. Mine was different for sure. Different story, but I think it was definitely ordained and designed that way. But yeah, it was a doozy. There was some things that I ended up needing to prepare for that birth that I didn't even realize I needed, and like things that I had an ultrasound at the very end for no real reason at all, which is not me, nor was it something I wanted. And yet I guess I'll show that, because it was how I prepared, because the Lord began to just keep telling me I needed an ultrasound, and it kept coming up like 3-4 times. And I was like, okay, why do I keep thinking that? Like, I don't want that. Like, why? And then my mom had a dream that I needed an ultrasound. And then my
Oh,
midwife, and she's a very prophetic dreamer and a very like spiritual, like a, not only is she my mom, but like we have a really great relationship. She's a really good friend at this season of my life, and a truly solid spiritual head in my life. And so that came with a lot of weight. And then I shared with my midwife in a call with her this keeps coming up for me, and I don't know why I keep thinking it. It's kind of weird and just off the wall. And she was like, okay, so last week I was in the grocery store and I just had this, one of my clients needs an ultrasound. And then I started mentally going through all of my client list going, I can't think of anybody that needs an ultrasound. Like there's no indication. And, and so she's like, okay, I guess it's just going to come up when it comes up. And I'll, I've got this kind of word I'm holding on to. And she's like, so I guess that's your confirmation. And I was like, okay, which then was like
crazy.
scary, right? Then I'm like, what's wrong? What do I need
Right.
to know? And this was my sunset twin. I had lost her twin early on, and so there was a lot of grief that I was carrying around, and a lot of like, what if? And there had been a lot of like, well, maybe he's hiding, which was just kind of this like wishful thinking, and it was really more of my husband. Like my husband didn't believe that he was gone there for a little bit. And so there was like, that had been swimming around of like, well, maybe he was just hiding in that ultrasound and he is still in there. And like, there was just all of these questions. And then like, well, if we had lost him, was there a problem with, that caused that is affecting the one that did stay? And so there was, and I had walked through a lot of loss, a lot of death that year and all the craziness. And so I was like, okay, brace for impacts. What's happening? And I went in for this ultrasound, just kind of like what are the peekaboo, sneak peek places. But the person who did it was well-trained and does do medical evaluations, but it is outside of the system. And so that was helpful for me. So I went there and everything was perfect. And like, she checked everything for me, like in a really quick way. Like it was only like, it wasn't like a full long thing, but she did a fairly fast, as thorough as, I needed at that point, and everything was perfect. And it was like, all of a sudden this like weight I hadn't even realized was on me just dissipated. And I was like, I had been saying everything was fine and I had believed it, but it was like one of those, I believe, help me in my unbelief. And I think the Lord knew that I was going to have this unassisted birth that I wasn't, necessarily planning, which was fine. Again, it was just, I was planning that because I didn't want to be my midwife brain. And then I didn't end up having that midwife present. And I think he just was preparing the, like, I know that you have this little tinge, this little mustard seed, this little thing here that is been weighing on you. And you just need to have a clean bill of health going in. And it wasn't a faith thing. I think he really just needed to like show me, you're okay, just rest. And then it helped the two people that were there, my mom and my husband, feel a lot of peace that I was doing this unassisted. And so, like even the off the wall against, like we don't get dogmatic. And that was a way I prepared for that most recent. Because there was so much fear and there was so much question and things. And it was like, okay, sometimes we can use, those interventions to support us, and it's okay to get those questions answered as needed.
Great example. Yeah, because you might find you're surprised in a certain pregnancy, the sorts of things you suddenly feel like you really need. Like things you might not in general say people need to do in order to prepare for labor, but for some reason for you, there's like this one or two things that like, this feels really important to me that X, Y, or Z happens, it gets taken care of.
Right.
And you might not always get to know exactly why that was present for you, but I think your story illustrates that it's worth listening to that and
Yeah.
and letting it be there unless it's like actively damaging to somebody.
Right.
But
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean,
this
and
whole labor
I'm the
prep,
person who doesn't even do like pregnancy tests very often. Like, I don't,
yeah,
like, I don't care if I pee on a stick, like, whatever. Like, it's fine. I'll find out I'm pregnant when I find out. I don't necessarily need an ultrasound. Like, I'm fine. And so it was off the wall for me to go that route, and use that technology, but it was absolutely beneficial. When I didn't expect it to be beneficial, it shocked me. And so
it's really interesting. Yeah, and no two labor preps have been the same for me. There's always been like
not at
different
all.
things that feel important, and so it's just
I have,
checking in with yourself and paying attention and checking in with the still small voice of the Good Shepherd and
right.
tending to whatever I feel like the customized labor prep list that you're going to have downloaded differently each time. So there might be some general basics that,
Right.
are generally wise for everyone to do. But then there are definitely those very personalized.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
I know, like, the more babies I had, the less I was preparing for labor in the general, like, the Google list way.
Yeah.
And more I was preparing for like postpartum, and really like focusing on the parenting side of like, how am I going to parent? How am I going to rest? How am I going to support these other babies that I have running around while I bond with this newborn? And like, that's where my mind goes. And
Yeah.
we'll probably do a postpartum prep podcast, and maybe even drop these back to back. But that, I think, is where a lot of my like prenatal prep ends up being postpartum prep versus birth prep. But even then, it's still like in my head, it's almost like they're seamless, because me feeling prepared postpartum feels like I can go into birth. And funny enough that actually with that 2020 baby, she came way earlier. For those of you who don't know that birth story, we need to do our birth stories on this podcast.
We do.
For those of you who don't know my birth story, I normally carry like 42, 43. It's my sixth baby, and she came at 38 and 6, went into labor at 38 and 5, and then labored through the night. And very much a surprise for me. And so I was still in that. I've got like 4 weeks to prepare. Like, I'm not quite ready. And the night, an hour before I went into birth, like before I was, all of a sudden, the most important thing for me was I need postpartum snacks. Like, I need postpartum snacks now. Like, I don't have any postpartum snacks in this house. What is wrong with me? And like, it was this like intensity of nesting that hit, and it was all around the postpartum. And
even though your conscious brain thought you had 4 or 5 weeks left.
Even though I had like, who prepares food for like snacks, not like meals. I was like, what am I going to eat right after birth? I don't know. I don't have the things that I'm going to eat right after birth. So I need to go get that. That's like, what is wrong with me? And so I'm in this tiny little town. The only store that was open at this time that was available to go get was Walmart, which is not where I typically go to get my food. But it was like so important that I was like, okay, Brandon, if you put the kids to bed, can you just put them to bed, and I'm going to go and get snacks. And like, he's going to do bedtime by himself because it is that important to get snacks right now. And bless my husband. And so I like run to Walmart to get just a handful of things. And then I'm going to go to like, the city tomorrow and get good food. Tomorrow, I'm not planning a grocery store trip tomorrow, but I'm going to go and just get a few things to just help me feel a little better tonight. And then I'll be back. I went into labor at the grocery store.
That's so crazy.
It was like postpartum prep was my, how I like.
It's also your labor prep. Yep.
It was also my labor prep. So
that line does get blurry.
It does. It gets blurry. But anyway, fun stories.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It just occurred to me that another form of labor prep when you have other children is prepping the children
Yes, that's a
for
good
what's to
one.
come, especially if you're home birthing, like, and there's any possibility that they're going to witness any part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
There's that work of like shepherding your children through
Yeah,
understanding what's about to happen, like how to make meaning of that, like why it doesn't have to be. Oh no, I don't ever say it doesn't have to be scary because I don't think children naturally have fear about it.
I don't.
I
Yeah, I
just,
haven't recognized that. I have not seen or experienced children that have a ton of fear unless there was already somebody in the room that was fearful. Whether it's maybe it's not mom and dad, but maybe like cousin, grandma, whatever. If there's fear in the room, they're really susceptible.
yeah,
But like the well prepared, I mean, not even the well prepared, like just kids in general, they're like, "Are you okay?" And mom's like,
mm-hmm.
"Yep, it's just hard work." And they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, whatever."
yeah. I just say
And
things like, if I'm loud, it's just because I'm working hard. Like,
I'm working hard. Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
Yep.
So I've been watching
Always when
like,
you pick up the heavy rock, like.
yeah, you grunt when you pick up something heavy, or like their dad loves splitting wood, and he
Uh-huh.
like sometimes will let out these mighty roars when he pulls the axe down. It's like the same kind of thing. Like it's great
Yep.
physical exertion that comes with just some noise
Yep.
making. And then but we've been watching like birth videos and like
Mm-hmm.
reading children's books about home birth, and for the children who want to do that, not all of them do.
Right.
And then just even checking in with them, like, where do you want to be during this process? Like, do you want to be in the room, or do you think you'd like some space from that?
Right.
And then just making sure they know that they can change their mind about that
And that
when the time
and
comes
that
in the
mom may
moment.
change their mind.
Yeah,
you
yep,
know.
for sure. So just those conversations and preparing them for what's about to happen. And it's actually, I really love that part. Like my
Yeah.
two littles are so into it right now. It's really sweet. Like they're begging to
Yeah.
watch birth videos. And they like, my 2-year-old claps and cheers when the baby comes out. And my
Oh.
5-year-old just started making comments like, "Oh, her water broke. Oh, the placenta's still inside her. I can tell because the cord is still up her butt." Okay, we need to work on our body part terminology.
Right.
But, she's
Yep.
getting it.
We're getting there.
Yeah. So it's fun to share that with them because watching the birth videos is helpful for me too. I know not everyone likes to watch them, but I find that to be a good way to put like just positive imagery in my brain.
Yeah, for sure.
Birth. Yeah.
I love that.
So,
Yeah, I think it's always fun to prepare the kids. There's lots of great books out there too. Home birth books now. There are beautiful pictures and and like even having the conversation, even as a midwife, if there's a kid in the room right before the placenta comes out, it's like, okay, you're going to see blood come out of mommy and what we call the placenta. It was the organ that feeds the baby and nobody is hurt. Like this blood does not mean that she's hurting or that there's something wrong. And so, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they're kind of intrigued. Like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm going to believe you because you're the person in the room that mommy trusts right now. So, okay. Yeah. And, it's always like just like basic, it's okay. Just preparing what's coming supports that. And
yeah, because they borrow the confidence of the adults in the room.
Yeah,
very
for sure.
much.
Yep.
Yeah. Or the lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof. And I think then that brings up the other conversation of, I hear so many moms like, I don't know if I want my kid there, but I don't know if I want my kid there. And the juxtaposition of that and like just having permission to like recognize it's okay that you don't want to try and parent while birthing. And, know that your kids can surprise you. My most fierce, high energy, child was like the best doula that I have because he also had such a strong compassion in him that he was an amazing doula. And actually the kid that I would expect to have been one of the best doulas was not.
Interesting.
He's my oldest in, I think it was birth. Let's see, it was Abby. So birth 5. and he was about 8 at the time. And so he'd been prepared, and, he had seen mom have birth before because he's the oldest and this is 5. So, it was not his first rodeo either. And he wakes up, it was like 7 in the morning, and he wakes up and I'm like pushing her out. And I'm in the living room pushing baby out, and I make like a loud like roar. And he runs from the living room back down the hall away. And immediately the momness in me is like, baby, mommy's okay. Baby's just coming. And he's like, it's not that. I'm bored.
That's really funny.
All right. See you then. Like, all right then. And everybody in the room was like mortified. They were like, oh, and I just like busted out laughing. Like, I just thought it was the most hilarious thing. And I ended up, laughing while I'm waiting for the next contraction. And I was like, just give him a tablet. Like, I don't care. Like, just, yep. And so then everybody else started laughing, and somebody handed him something to like be more interesting than pushing out a child, apparently.
Gotta roll with
it. So, but he is my like really calm, super helper, like kid. Right now, like, he is the best babysitter you could ever want to hire. But not at that time. He was like,
that's awesome.
This is boring. Somebody give me something to do. Like, so, they surprise us. The high energy ones can be really calm and be the perfect, and the low energy ones can be quite the opposite. So
yeah.
We can't really plan those things out. So I think in all of labor prep, whether it's the kids, whether it's the anything, any of the topics as labor prep, I think it's learning how to prepare, but then also really hold it loosely, that we can't plan it. Like, just like we talked about, you can't measure mystery. Like, you can't prepare for the unexpected, and the, like, rather than just saying, okay, Lord, I'm going to cultivate you in this place. I'm going to set my heart and my eyes upon you. And I'm going to like hold this, with this like tenacity of, this is what I want, and this is how I'm going to prepare myself, and this is the environment I'm going to cultivate. And I'm not going to like settle, with the balance of your will, not mine.
100%. Yeah. That's so true.
It's
the same with, like, I think a lot of people's labor prep process, there's a temptation to include intentionally eating or consuming foods and herbs and doing activities that will make labor happen. Like, the labor prep is like almost equal to
6 dates every day.
Forcing it to,
not 200 squats a day, and
put an evening primrose oil capsule up your vagina. All the things. And I have in the past done some of those things, and and then but when I look back, honestly, all of my labor started when I was in a pretty deep rest state.
Right.
When I had kind of given up trying to like encourage
oxytocin and melatonin are a thing.
Like sleeping, and last time watching stand-up comedy for some reason was like, I watched so much stand-up comedy at the end of my pregnancy. I'm not usually like a stand-up comedy person, but I just intuitively knew that I needed to laugh. Like,
right. Well, that's oxytocin.
To laugh. Yeah. So that's what it ended up being for me that time. And I mean, you can also watch videos of puppies or whatever floats your boat, but
right.
But labor prep is partly the surrendering of the erroneous illusion of control that we can somehow like tell it when to start and how to start, and make our body set up just perfectly for it to start. And the midwife I'm working with this time, she says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like,
right.
Yeah. Because I was actually, for some reason this time, I thought maybe I need to get one of those like 5W tinctures I've been hearing about, a gentle birth tincture. I've never tried that. Maybe I should try that. And then I actually even bought it, and then I was like, this isn't really sitting well in my spirit. Why am I doing this? Yeah. My labors work. Like, I'm not.
Yeah. Right.
And I reached out to her about it, and she's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I was like,
yeah.
Darn tootin', you're right. I'm going to return this. So
Good for you.
just trusting and
Yep.
surrendering work is a big part of labor prep too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's like that's how I feel about the whole dates thing. Like there's great evidence to support that helps, make an easier labor, but to
In a
me it's like
hospital setting. I mean, the
in a
only reason
hospital
he was in the hospital.
right, right. And so it's like, okay, great. It's real food. It's probably not going to hurt anything.
Mhm.
Like I have more concern about the mental, like what's behind this desire to eat. Like I have women who are like, I hate dates, but I have to eat 6 a day. I'm like, no, you don't. Who told you that? Who told you
Yeah.
that? Like stop it. If you hate dates then it's probably not helping you. Like it's
Yeah.
just, there's more to this. And it's actually about like living as designed, coming into alignment, and trusting that the design works and that if you believe that your body was created to give birth, then why do you believe that you need, to consume 312 dates before you give birth, before your body's going to be ready? Like, was it designed to give birth or was it not? Was it only designed to give birth if you eat an excessive amount of dates that you hate? Like that's
No.
not how that
But
works.
Lauren,
So
all women throughout all of time have been eating that many dates before they give birth.
obviously, I mean, that happens. So, I mean, maybe if you lived in Israel and you were walking through the wilderness and, that's the date palms are there and that's what you were eating, sure.
God is
But
dropping dates from the sky, not just manna. Dates for all the pregnant women.
dates for all the pregnant women. So, it's like, and it's kind of that, like, I feel silly almost even pushing against it because it's like it's not gonna hurt anything. It's just food, right? Like it's whole food. That's what I talk about all the time is eat whole food, but I have more issue with the mindset behind what it is that we're doing. So whether it's the dates or the 200 squats or the like pineapple or the primrose or fill in the blank, like what's the motive? What's the why?
Mm-hmm.
And are you trying to cover up a fear and prepare for something by doing XYZ? Because the only homework that you really have is support your body and go do something you enjoy. That's what's going to start labor.
Yep.
Rest and going to enjoy, whatever you enjoy. Support that oxytocin and support the melatonin. So yeah.
Yep, that's good labor prep right there.
Good labor prep.
And sometimes that also has meant for me, if things felt strained in my primary relationships, that I need to have some conversations with people and make sure we're okay and we're connected.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, that's another, I guess that probably gets back to oxytocin again.
Yeah.
Making sure you're connected. Mm-hmm.
I think even especially around your husband, how is the labor, we talked about labor prep for our kids. Mm-hmm. How's your husband, that support, the father of this child, being prepared, right? If he's going to bring fear into the room because he wasn't prepared and he didn't have that beautiful physiology foundation to trust the design. If he was kind of pushed out of the this is the woman's thing and not given the, he's a protector and he is a provider and he is, a lover and he is the father, there's this, he can actually hold the space as a guard, we think about holding the space in many ways, almost like, if you could see me holding my hands out in this receptive, holding something space, we hold it. But I think oftentimes about holding out, we're going to hold it open and guard, hold the door, bar the door, prevent, hold it in a way that is guarding so that mom can be completely unhindered. And whatever she needs to do, the people in the room can make sure that nothing is hindering her. And it's that outward holding, pushing against any walls coming, right? That's this And that's a very much a guard stance. And men are designed for that, right? Like, and not to get stereotypical, but like they will thrive in general to saying, hey, your role here is to be a spiritual intercessor and a guardian of this room, and to like make sure that your wife is well supported in her desires and her needs, and that you can be an advocate when she's in a very vulnerable place and very susceptible to suggestion, and like know what she needs and then be that, like, and when they realize that they can have a role of being a really amazing guard and advocate for her, then all of a sudden they come on board a whole lot more of like, oh, this is an important role. I can do something here that is actually valuable. And I mean, to be honest, that's a sexy thing. Like,
Totally.
So, that preparing them and helping them get prepared and know their role in that room is a beautiful thing. And knowing that dads have instinct too. So.
Yeah, well said. That's huge. I hear a lot of women sometimes have frustration around that one, like because maybe their husband doesn't want to or doesn't seem inclined to or open to doing that kind of preparation for himself. And just kind of like is content to kind of let her carry that and he's a little checked out.
Yeah. I think that's where it takes somebody to say, hey, did you know that this is that, like speak their language of this isn't just a woman's work. And I think they feel like they don't have a role at all because it is largely a woman's work, but like it didn't just take a woman to get a baby there, right? And so, and it is not just her child. And so there's this juxtaposition of, yep, she's the only one who can birth this baby. It's her body. She needs the bodily autonomy. She needs to be the one that has the final say over, how and where and when she's birthed. I guess not when, but just that process of birth largely lays on her. But like that almost removes that he has a role because of that perspective that we had to kind of fight for. But recognizing like this is your role in this space, then they can come on board because there's a purpose for them. And then I think that is, tapping into their love for their wife and their love for their child, and recognizing how they can be a part, and maybe they won't necessarily read all the books or take the classes or any of those things. I don't think it's necessarily even about that, but just defining that for them of like, this is how you can, and knowing that it's important, that it's so important and does make a difference and does shift things. I
think as wives, we can elicit that response a bit with just a vulnerable ask too. Like, this is a tender space for me and I need you. Like, I need you to hold that space. I need you to be praying in the corner or whatever. Like, you're important to me in this space. And, but it is easier for us to get into the, I got this, like, girl power. But it can be both and. Like, it can be.
Yes, it is. I think it's an
simultaneously the most powerful act that you have ever accomplished on your own, in a sense. Like, you're the only person physically who can make the baby come out.
Right.
But then also this incredible time of leaning in and receiving that kind of care and protection. And,
I mean, it reminds me a lot of like the same conversation we've had about a midwife being in the room, or a birth keeper or a doula. Like, it's the most needed and unneeded thing. It's like, so having that, especially in the father, the baby, their husband, having that going together as a team is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And helping, I think, inviting, I don't think, at least my husband is not prone to sit around and think about this, but I occasionally check in with him as part of labor prep again, of like, are there any things you're feeling worried about this time?
Right.
Can I provide you with any resources that would help like shrink that fear down for you? Like, do you have any questions about something? And I've kind of become resigned to the fact that it is probably going to be me who has to furnish him with the resources that like help him get through that. Like, so for instance, this time he's had a little fear on water birth. So I made like a playlist of water births on Instagram, actually, that were all just very like beautiful transitions of like healthy, robust babies and just really peaceful. And we watched those together and kind of talked about just through some of the things that he could tune into to be reassured that like the water birth is safe and the baby's okay. And he said he might want to rewatch those while listening to some bilateral music or something like that to kind of
That's good.
even further kind of soak in. Trauma. Yeah. So, because they have fears too, and just like we need to bring them out in the open, they do too. But it's not like, unfortunately, men in our culture haven't been groomed to like to admit those things and then work through them. So I feel like that's one way that in labor prep that I've walked with my husband a little bit.
Yeah. I think it can be such a beautiful thing for the marriage too, not just the birth, right? Like just this beautiful unity of what you can do together. So not to say that every man has to be the perfect doula guy, doula.
Right. No, not at all.
But just including him in that.
Yeah.
So let's see. Any other big things that we labor prep? I mean, I guess the only other thing I can think about is like movement and kind of knowing, I guess, some of the more basics. But I think sometimes because we do repeat, and I think this would probably be more for like the first time moms, we do repeat what we see. And so, and I guess even the second time moms kind of will tend to go to the same positions they did in the first, the first labor. So even if they were a hospital birth going to a home birth, or they've only seen hospital births or they've only seen movies depicting of birth, they don't know. It's like they need permission to just move in their body, and really listening to their body. Instead, they kind of like, well, this is how I birth, right? This is what you're supposed to do. And so some labor prep might look like practicing some traditional labor positionings and some swaying and some like how you can hold your body, not in a dogmatic, like, okay, hands and knees opens the pelvis, great, so that's what I'm going to birth, because your baby may come down and they need you to do something else, and that's fine. But rather know how you can move your body and do some pelvis play and figure out how you're comfortable in your body, and like paying attention to where baby is, and knowing, like, just like, to move your neck the certain way because you have a crick in it, you're going to feel a baby coming through your pelvis, and like you'll move that way. You'll want to kick a hip up or move a leg or sway or wiggle or whatever. And like those things are okay and natural and normal. And I think just like kind of laying that normalcy, watching the birth videos, or looking at different labor positions that help.
Yeah.
And knowing what you can do, because sometimes you just get stuck in this, like, I don't know, it's not working, I'm here. and
sometimes intense sensation makes us freeze up and just kind of like hold still.
Right.
So I like that idea of practicing the movement and like experimenting with what it feels like to move in different ways.
Body memory kind of prep.
Because in labor, the strong sensations are actually like often clues to move, not to freeze up, but like to move in a different way. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I also do a lot of like relaxation prep, especially my earlier. I didn't do it much in the my most recent 2 births. I don't think I really did it, but like in the first few, I really taught myself how to relax my whole body, through what's it called? Like the muscle relaxation,
progressive muscle relaxation, where like you start with your toes when you work all the way up to the top of your head.
I did a lot of that. Yeah. Progressive muscle relaxation. And in the sense of like, then when I am like, okay, just relax, everything melts, because I've done that and I've learned how to relax each individual part of my body, that I can now simultaneously relax all the parts of my body. So the only tension you're having is in your uterus. And so what I would do in the first few that I, was learning that prep process, I would do that with either my music playlist that I had prepared, or like affirmations that I was speaking. And at the time I was really into like essential oils and like that smell, like, or just, whatever smell you were wanting in the birth. And I would have that while I was practicing.
Brilliant.
So that like,
yeah,
when I smell that smell, it was a cue for my body of like, oh, when I smell this, I relax. And when I hear this, I relax. And so it was like mental pathways that I
super smart. Yeah.
That was really nourishing in my labor, or in my prenatal period. There was a nourishing time to just sit back and relax. But then it was like building those pathways to be able to relax for labor. And so I still kind of almost have those cues now for myself, that I haven't needed to like re-practice that, but, that's definitely something I've always leaned on, of like, okay, just relax. Like I have this, just relax was the
You're
first
changing it.
progressive muscle relaxation that I ever did was, my midwife saying, she would walk you through and she would go, just relax. And I still have her voice in my head. And if I say just relax, my whole body just like, anybody can say it. It's like Pavlov's dog. Like,
well, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Like I think both like breathing techniques and relaxation techniques, if you practice them when you're pregnant, and like I'd say like you're making a 2-track, like it's like you're driving over the same path all the time. Yes. So like then when you really need it and you're in like the intensity of labor, your body will settle into that 2-track, like that groove.
Yep.
And you just can get in it without like a lot of conscious effort or thought.
Yep.
So that's a great, I'm glad you brought that one up.
Real basic stuff. But,
and nowadays there's so many YouTube videos that you can find to kind of like teach you these simple methods for breathing and relaxation. So I like your idea of pairing it with a playlist or a scent that you anticipate having.
Other senses, whatever other senses that you're having that you plan to really have around you will trigger, because that's how our brain works. So, memory of, you smell apple pie and you're immediately pulled into the memory of your mom making it, right? Or fill in whatever story you've got there. It's the same. Our olfactory senses are connected to our memory. And so that's why, so if you're not a big essential oil person, it can even be like, other scents, or herbal infused oils, or, whatever you want that you feel is a safe modality for you, something simmering on the stove. Bring that in and have those scents around you so that you can get into that groove too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. All right.
So we've jumped all over, but I feel like we've probably covered a pretty thorough list just in a random order.
I feel like, it was kind of just a real, I think we've hit some body, physical, and some soul, spiritual stuff, and prepping around our husbands and our children, and really just centering ourselves on the Lord and his plan. And that's how you prepare for labor. Prepare for the unprepared, it's unpreparable. Like, I think that, I guess I'd like to leave with, I guess it's not really a wrapping up, but another thought that's coming up to me is, something I see often with the, first time moms is, as soon as they have these first contractions, there's this excitement that comes up and they're like, we're having it, and they're not quite deep yet, but they don't know how deep they're going to have to go. And so they begin to start like start the excitement or start trying to go deep before it's actually time. And it ends up creating this like mental exhaustion and even sometimes physical exhaustion. I raised my hand. I walked 5 miles my first labor in early labor. Early labor, I actually walked 5 miles around a neighborhood. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. So, wore myself out, convinced that that was what I needed to do to keep the contractions coming. And so it's that you're not going to stop truly active or transitional labor. You're not going to stop it with a warm bath, and you're not going to stop it by relaxing. And so if it does stop, well, and it wasn't actually going to continue most likely. So like, this is good for you to stop it, like if it's not moving forward, like rest and nourish yourself and don't get up until you can't sleep through it, like all of those kinds of basic, but unfortunately not often talked about, that like how deep we have to go. Those early labor contractions can feel intense, but it's also, it's not there yet. And so if you're still very talking in full sentences and like having a really intense contraction, but coming up being like, hey, yeah, so where's the kids going to go? And, and like still high. Oh, okay, hold on. Like, okay, you're getting there and you're doing something, but you're not quite there yet. So don't get overexcited and get yourself into this, because that sets you up for those like disappointing moments of, I've not been progressing and it's been forever times. And that just spirals us. So,
I have made those mistakes myself. So
I think we all do. And
it's almost inevitable with first time moms, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, because you like you said, you don't know what you don't know.
You just don't know.
So you can't know when it's as deep as it's going to get because you've never felt that before. So so much grace for that. But it's, yeah.
And on the flip side, I do often like to say to those mamas, like, you have experienced intensity in your life.
Yeah.
You have experienced intense sorrow and intense excitement and joy and pleasure. And what do you need in those times? Like, if you can stop and think about what you needed when you had a great pain, when you had physical or emotional, and when you've had great joy, what did you lean into? Like, what do you want around you? Are you a person that leans into water? Are you a person that wants silence? Are you a person that loves your worship music? Do you need people? Do you not need people? Like, do you like to go to the bathroom to cry? Like, what is, what is it? Where do you go with the intensities of life, and recognize that while you may have never experienced labor, you are the same person you've always been, and you're going to lean into those same coping mechanisms and those same supports and those same relief ways that you've leaned into your whole life. So
during labor, like, get conscious about those things and communicate those things to your people who will be your birth attendants, and make provision to have those elements present during your labor.
Right.
And if you can premeditate that a little bit, that's another good piece of labor prep, I would say.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, how should we wrap up? Because it has felt a little scattered, but I hope beneficial in the labor prep. I don't know. I almost
want a tidy way to wrap it up, but
yeah, I wonder if we should read the Anointed Birth definition, because I feel like most of labor prep, I think, is about this mental focus on the outcome. What can I do to prepare for the outcome, right? Like, what can I do to make sure I get the birth that I want, and that I handle it well, and that, all the things fall into place. And the Anointed Birth definition that I wrote, I actually wrote just kind of in a place of after attending a kind of hard birth that didn't it was a well laid plan with a mom that did all the things right. And she didn't quite get the birth outcome she had prepared for. But it was still very much anointed, and it was exactly where the Lord had led her. And I saw the fruit of that. And so as I was holding that juxtaposition, these words kind of fell out of me in a journal. And I've to know, I say this humbly, it has seemed to bless a lot of people, and it's been a blessing to myself to keep going back to what is the point? What's the point of labor prep? And what's the goal? And why are we, what are we actually cultivating here?
Yeah.
So,
do it. I love this definition.
I'm going to read that, and then we can sign off. All right. So, Anointed Birth. Anointed birth is not about the ideal picture perfect birth that fulfilled all of our plans. No. An anointed birth is one that is filled with the presence of Yahweh. One that is guided by wisdom and intuition and births an eternal being along with lessons and transformation. It is a birth that trusts that our God is not surprised by circumstances, is not shaken from his throne, but is sovereign in the birthing room. As a mother of 8, with 6, I've had the honor of birthing and keeping this side of glory. I think on 2 of my births that look very different, yet I recognize were equally anointed births. One was an unassisted birth with a perfectly healthy mom and baby. The other, a smooth, precipitous birth, culminating to my baby boy crashing when his placenta detached and needing a helicopter ride to the NICU. The outcomes, they looked very different, but the presence of my God was thick and filled the room with peace beyond understanding. As a midwife, I have seen many anointed births varying from worship-filled butter birth, where I sat on my hands as she received her own child without my assistance or skill. And I have seen a mom cry out to her Creator from a primal place, begging for her and her child's life as blood poured down her leg. And I have seen a mom birth her one and only child just to be asked to hand her right back to Jesus. I have seen anointed births where God worked life-saving, unexplainable miracles before my eyes. And I have seen anointed births where we, parents and midwife, heeded his wisdom on choosing interventions and practices that we typically would never, ever, ever advise. Things like coached purple pushing and vacuum assist, or a C-section for simply a breech baby. My point is, the anointed birth is not found in a good outcome or a well-laid plan. It is not even necessarily an intervention-free physiological birth by design, while a very wise strategy to align with that beautiful design. It is not the goal. An anointed birth is submitted to the will of God. It is knowing that no matter what, when you lay aside yourself, submit to the journey, and seek the will of the one who works all things together for our good, we can't miss it. He won't let us, because he is God and he will see his will come to pass. He is deliverer. He is peace. He is wisdom. He is healer. He is love. An anointed birth is infused with invitation to co-create and be transformed, to sacrifice for something bigger than self, to walk a path of redemption, to gracefully and gratefully open ourselves to the lessons that grow humans and awaken our spirit. Isaiah 61:1 says, "The mighty spirit of Lord Yahweh is wrapped around me, because Yahweh has anointed me." I believe an anointing is a secondary consequence of that wrapping. That wrapping is defined in the Strongs as upon, in, on, over, above, by, for, through, throughout, around, and beside. So I pray, may the Spirit of Yahweh be upon, in, on, over, above, by, for, through, throughout, around, and beside you in your birthing years. To anoint is to smear, consecrate, and paint. The Christ follower often thinks of an anointing as a covering of oil. But in birth, the mode of anointing is not oil, but by blood and water. The same fluids that poured from the Christ's body as he anointed us to be born again through his life sacrifice. An anointed birth is shielded by the blood of the Lamb. An anointed birth occurs when a mother sets her heart in that same fashion that Mary did, the mother of Jesus, when the angel told her she would conceive a child. Quote, "Behold, I am the handmaiden of the Lord. May it happen to me according to your word," your Rhema word. We want you to have an anointed birth that is overcome, we invite you to overcome the labors of joy and sorrow and just plain hard work that are intertwined throughout the childbearing years by the covering of the blood of your Creator and the stories of sisters gone before you. I hope that this is a podcast episode that blesses your heart and prepares you for labor and points you to having an anointed birth yourself. So we bless you and thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Holy Wild Birth. We hope that you were genuinely encouraged, inspired, and challenged by what you heard today. If you're loving what you hear, please make sure that you share it. Leave reviews. That helps other mamas find this content as well. And don't forget to read the show notes, okay? Because that's where you can find our email address if you want to reach out to us and start a conversation. It's also where you'll find free offerings as well as invitations to work with me and or Lauren. We can't wait to get to know you. See you next week.